Funny how time flies when you're having fun, right? I almost went to a Janet Jackson reference, but I didn't. Welcome to the Chicken Box, everybody. Sometimes you just got to wake up, be in a good mood for yourself with so much, and don't turn the news on early unless it's the Afro news. When you're talking about the good news for the people who mean a lot in your community, because if you filter some of that information in, it is not a great way to start your day. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but welcome to the Chicken Box. If you never tuned in, I'm your host, co-host, Impeccable, along with Jay Jackson. Jay,
How you
always
doing,
look,
man?
man. I'm going. Where you live at again?
I live in Mexico.
Live at that was straight bought on. Where you live?
It was. It was. It's all right. I understand.
I'm just saying, you always have that Mexican glow. I love it. I'm
That's
like,
just a light. That's just a light in the back.
I'm like, I need to get to the beach quickly, right? To the beach. If you've never tuned into the Chicken Box, we're powered by the 133-year-old media company, the oldest black family-owned media company in the world, the Afro News. And this is the show, The Chicken Box. If you're from Baltimore, you know what that means immediately. Four wings, fries, salt, pepper, ketchup, hot sauce, however you like it, in styrofoam or greasy box is good. I would prefer it grilled now against the oldie one. I will have mine air fried, but I still like a good chicken box now. But if it's on this show, it's where we get to stand on the box and speak our truth. The great thing about it, you don't have to agree with me. That's what I love about the chicken box, because you could just get up here and say, how people get all mad at each other just because you like blue and I don't like blue, so I'm mad at you. Anyway, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. But we got something good today. Hope to leadership. The vision of Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. Man, are we talking about our young boys, our young black men,
Absolutely.
our future?
Absolutely.
Are we talking enough about it? We have a special guest joining us to help us really hammer home this conversation. Jay, why don't you introduce one of my good frat brothers, Mr. Edwin Avent?
Hey.
Hey, he did it anyway, Jay. He
Yeah,
did
I
it.
know he did.
I said Advent. I didn't
It's
put the D in
Avon.
it.
It's
Avon.
Avon.
Hey, goodness
Well,
gracious.
as
You
he
know,
told me backstage, long A, long A,
long A. I missed
long
that
A.
part.
All right.
It's all good.
No worries. Edwin Avent is a visionary, award-winning entrepreneur and co-founder of an educational institution. He is the 2024 President Joseph R. Biden Lifetime Achievement Award winner. Edwin serves as the president and CEO of the Five Smooth Stones Foundation and its subsidiary, Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. He is also co-founder of another Baltimore nonprofit, Black Professional Men. These organizations have mentored, educated, and graduated over 3,000 young African-American men and awarded 250 scholarships to many of those same young men. Before helping to launch the school, Edwin was the president and CEO of the Soul of the South Television Network, a regional television network in 28 cities, and the president and publisher of Heart and Soul magazine. A graduate of Cornell University, Mr. Avent is a devoted father and husband. Father of two wonderful sons, Edwin has received several awards and recognitions for his entrepreneurial achievements. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So, the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. This is your latest project in many projects, and I'm sure just one of the many stepping stones that you have going on. Can you tell people who are not familiar with the actual school what it is, what are you trying to do that's sort of shifting the paradigm on education for young black boys?
Well, sure. Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys, we're in our 11th year. We opened in 2015, and our mission basically is to ensure the future of the African-American male. So we do so through education. You know, there's a lot of statistics out there that were saying if a boy could not read by the third grade, they were building jail cells for them. And so myself, I was introduced to this brother named Jack Pennell, who was a visionary who put together the business plan for Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. And someone who knew me, knew my background as one of the founders of Black Professional Men and knew that I had been doing mentoring and giving scholarships to young brothers. I told that person that, I would love to open a school for boys. And they said, I want you to meet somebody. And they introduced me to this brother who was brilliant. He had a vision. for building this school. And I saw what he was doing. I said, I'm on board. And this was back in 2011. By 2015, we opened the school with a 4th, 5th, and a 6th grade with 168 boys. Originally, our vision was to go from 4th grade to 12th grade. But by the time, what we would do is each year add a grade on as our boys progressed. After the first year, we added a 7th grade. Then the next year, we added an 8th grade. But by the time we got there, I said to the board, I don't think we should keep going up. I think we should go down to kindergarten, because what we were noticing is that we're getting the boys in 4th grade, but these boys were coming in well underprepared. And now we knew why people were taking them out of a K through 5 or a K through 8 school, because they needed to find a new environment for their son, because they didn't feel that their sons were learning. And so a lot of the boys that we began getting were 2 and 3 grade levels below grade, where they should be reading and doing math. And so we began doing the work of tutoring, mentoring, and doing all the work to try to catch these boys up, such that by the time they graduate from us in the 8th grade, we could send them on to some of the good high schools. I figured that there was enough high schools like Poly, City, Baltimore School for the Arts, some of the private schools, Mount St. Joe, St. Francis, Calvert Hall, different places that these boys could go and make it to college. But they needed to be able to get into those schools first and be prepared. And so that's what our mission was to get these young boys prepared. And so by 2018, we began graduating our first 8th graders, who are now graduated from high school. And so we have educated over 1,000 boys. Over 750 of those boys have graduated from our school, and 4 classes have graduated from high school: 2022, 23, 24, and 25. And the thing that's really most exciting is, of those 340 boys or so, 90% of them have graduated from high school in 4 years. Now, why is that significant? Because the boy that we serve is typically an African-American male coming from an economically disadvantaged background. And if you were to look at Baltimore City's average for that same male, it's 60% graduation rate. So they're graduating boys at 60%. We're graduating them at 90%. The boys who graduate from us is graduating at 90%. Now, if that happened one year, it could have been a coincidence, but it keeps happening year after year, that boys that left our school are graduating at a 90% rate. So we feel like we have a big hand in shaping them. Not only that, all we talk to our boys here about is college, college, college. You walk through our building, you can't miss a college banner somewhere in our school, where we're talking to them about college. We take them to college tours all throughout the city, some of them out of the state. But we began talking to little Black boys about college in the 4th grade, and they begin believing in themselves. You'll see so many boys who come into our school in the 4th grade who can't read, but by the time they leave here, they are actually going to college, and that's just fantastic. And so we've been doing a yeoman's job of delivering boys. But why does all that matter right now, and what are we here to talk about? Is in charter schools, every so many years, you have to go up for renewal. So you have to apply to the school board again. They send people in to do evaluations of you. They send surveys out. People do surveys, all this kind of stuff, and they gather the data, and then they come up with a recommendation that they give to the CEO, right? So it's an advisory board, looks at everything. They give the recommendation to the CEO, who is right now Dr. Santelises. Then she makes a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, which in Baltimore, in other places, they just call them the Board of Education. Here, they call them the Board of Commissioners. And so she gives a recommendation to them. They have to vote as to what they want to do. Well, unfortunately, Dr. Santelises has recommended that we not be renewed and that we be closed at the end of this school year. And so the Board of Commissioners will vote on this on January the 14th. So we're just out here telling our story. We're making sure that people understand what's at stake here. The work that we've been doing with boys since 2015 is making an incredible difference. If you were to come in our school, see how our boys carry themselves, they wear shirt and tie. We inspect them every day. It's almost, some people might look at it almost like a little bit like a military school, but we're really trying to get them prepared to go out into the work world, to be able to interview on jobs. And so if you were to watch how we train our boys, all of them learn how to do public speaking. All of them learn how to shake your hand and make good eye contact. All of them learn structure, discipline, and we hold high standards for the boys. One of the things that's so important that our boys get that they don't get in other schools, we have over 20 men in this school. We have 315 boys. We got 20 men. It's almost one man for every 15 boys in this building. So they get plenty of mentorship in the classroom of our 19 teachers. Let me see, 7 of them are men.
Okay,
So,
I was actually going to ask you that, because that statistic, a lot of people may not know this, and I'm sorry to interrupt.
no problem.
Less than 2% of teachers in the United States are Black men, right?
Yes.
Which is an unbelievable statistic when you think about it. It's like there are just under 4 million teachers in the country, and only like 75,000 are Black men across every state. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And Black people are not huge populations in every state. So, there are going to be there are definitely Black students who have Black male students, very specifically, who've never had a Black teacher. So
never had a Black teacher, never had a man teacher, and
or
definitely haven't had a Black male teacher.
Right, exactly. So I don't think people realize, like, when you're growing up, like, your perspective is your perspective. And so you just go, well, everybody, sort of has that same kind of upbringing. But a lot of Black children have never had Black teachers, especially Black male teachers. So the fact that you're almost half of your teachers are Black male teachers is pretty important. I think that's a real standout. So
it's intentional. It's intentional. I go out recruiting men all the time because I know how important these male role models are. You see the way I'm dressed, right? I'm always dressed like this, and I probably got about another 4 brothers in the building that they will come suited, totally suited. But then the other brothers, I ask to at least wear a shirt and tie. If you're not going to wear full blazer or a suit, it's because I'm setting a whole different mindset for these boys. I mean, when they leave here and they walk through our neighborhoods, the brothers that are sitting on the corner, that's not the role models that I want them to have, right? I need them to see a different a way that a Black man carries himself. Quite often, the boys see me in the hallway, they greet me, "Hello, Mr. CEO. Hello, Mr. CEO." For some of them, they didn't know what a CEO was until they came here. Now they understand, oh, the CEO is the boss of everybody, right?
Right.
And they begin to think, I want to be a CEO, right? That's the whole thing. Is if you begin changing a boy's outlook, his vision for his future, he begins to desire that.
Yeah.
Not only that, I'm always inviting brothers. We have this big event that happens at the beginning of every school year where we have probably about 100 Black men that show up dressed in their business attire or whatever their profession is, and they line the sidewalk all around my building, and they shake hands with all the boys as they're coming back to school on the day after Labor Day every year. And and as they go by, every brother saying, that readers are leaders. Or, man, you look sharp today. Are you going to have a great year? They're putting these positive affirmations in their head. And then when they come in the building, these men fan out and they introduce themselves to the boys. How you doing? My name is Kevin Peck. I graduated from Morgan State University. I was a business major, and today I'm a producer, and they're going around and they're seeing all these different men who look like them, who all went to college. Then they'll say, and for me, I grew up in Baltimore. They might say, I went to Poly High School, and then I went to Morgan, and now I'm here. And so my boys are seeing a path. Like, okay, I can do that path, And then they hear these brothers, I'm the president of my own company. I'm an engineer. And so the boys are seeing and hearing this, and it's seeping into them. It's seeping into their soul, right? And that's what I'm trying to get like Baltimore City to understand is like, the reason why these boys aren't achieving because you're not setting the standard high enough for them, and you're not giving them role models and examples, people that they can, mimic, or people they can model themselves after. And we're very intentional about what we do here. Now, I'll be fully transparent. The charges that they're bringing against us, why they don't want to renew us. They said that we're not an academic success, and they say that, our money, we don't have enough money. Okay, so I'm going to address those because people will say, well, why are they coming for you?
That was my next question, but I'm glad you got to it. If you just tuned in, this is a Chicken Box. We have the visionary leader, Edwin Avent. You like how I did that? The Baltimore City Collegiate School for Boys. It sounds like you're under attack.
We're under attack.
And we need to be attacking the streets and the system and everything else in education and challenging everything, because it's not because we're not smart, because we're smart. It's just, are we not challenged? Have we not turned the light switch, or has somebody not at least shown that they care? That
exactly.
We can go to a place where nobody
care is at heart.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So go ahead. I see a few people chimed in. Anita, thanks for chiming in. Asia, Leola, Robert, of course, Byron Dees. What's up, Byron? Haven't spoken to you in a long time. I don't think we're talking about, Anita, libraries. Were we talking about libraries? No.
Should not have CEOs. Libraries should not have CEOs. They should have directors. Libraries are nonprofit. And I agree with you, Anita, but we're not a library. We're a charter school, a 4th through 8th grade charter school. And I'm the CEO of the 5 Smooth Stones Foundation. And the foundation is the operator of Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. So we do have a CEO of the foundation.
Well, let's get to what all of the fuss is about.
What is the fuss about? And so they say that you guys are not an academic success, right? And they look at the standardized test. In Maryland, it's called the MCAP test, right? And so it's looking at reading levels and math levels. And it looks at young people's proficiency in reading and math, in ELA and math. And they're saying that we're not hitting the mark. The boys aren't growing. These are some of the things that they're saying about our outcomes. And what I try to share with them and try to share with the audience is that what we have become in some respects is that school of last hope for some people, right? Like their sons haven't been thriving in Baltimore City schools. Their sons come in here quite often not reading on grade level. At least 75% of the boys that show up at our doorsteps are not reading on grade level, and they're not doing math on grade level. And quite often it's 2 or 3 grade levels behind. Now, we understand that. That was part of our mission while we started in the 4th grade, is somebody's got to save them. Somebody's got to catch them before they go through the cracks. And so what we do is we use a lot of our funds that we get on paying for tutors to come in and tutor the boys. So we're taking boys who come in who can't read, and we're giving them reading tutors. Boys who can't do math, we're putting them in math interventions. So you'll take them out of class sometime just so they can be taught, because one of the big problems that boys have and why they drop out, and they drop out by the time they hit middle school, a lot of times boys have checked out. Because if they can't read by the time they hit 4th grade, it's hard for them to learn. And so they act out, they get put out of class, all those things, they do it on purpose. They want to get put out of class because they don't want to be embarrassed when they're called on because they can't read.
Man, that's 110%. I'm sitting next to this guy I never met, a white gentleman. He was talking about the same exact thing. He was like, they don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to be called on, and they don't want anybody to know that they can't read. So exactly what you said is they try to get put out. Mm-hmm. And once they're out, who are they hanging with? And by that time, he was just talking about the prison numbers of the percentage of the black men in prison who can't read. And that all goes back to what you're talking about right now.
It's 85%. If you do,
that's what I said. Yeah, he said
research that has been done that 85% of the brothers in jail are illiterate.
Right.
Okay.
And that's starting at that age you're talking about.
It starts at that age. So you teach a child to read from kindergarten to 3rd grade. They learn how to read. 4th grade and above, they read to learn. Okay. And so if you're showing up at our door at 4th grade where you don't know how to read, we got to go do remedial work to catch you up. But by the time, say if I got you in the fourth grade and you're reading at a kindergarten level or a first grade level, but by the end of your school year, you've gotten up to a second grade level or maybe a third grade level. When you take the test, you're still below grade level.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? You're still below, but did you grow? Did you grow? And that's the thing, is trying to get these boys to stick with school and for us to grow them incrementally, such that by the time they leave us in eighth grade, they have enough confidence to go on to a high school and actually stick in there. And that's what's happening. So they'll look at our test scores, and I could show you, if I show you this chart of the schools in Baltimore City, that if you disaggregate the data, you took the girls out of the data and you looked at just the same boy across schools, there's 19 schools that would match us in math. And there's 11 where we're
These are non-charter. These are non-charter schools.
These are non-charter. These are regular Baltimore City schools that
Right.
aren't on the chopping block. Okay, they're not threatening to close these schools. These are their schools. These are where we're getting the boys from. Their schools, right? So in their schools, there's at least 11 schools that we are on par or a little bit better than in reading, and 19 that we're exactly like in math, right? And so there, if we're failure,
But
for the
zero,
boys,
but zero who on the mindset and the achievement level of your school, because you have specifically targeted what the world wants to fail.
Exactly.
They
And
like
that's what we're saying to them. Like, look, you know, our scores may not be blowing anybody out of the water, but neither are your scores. But the difference is we're changing these boys' mentality about school. We're getting them to be confident in themselves and now believe that they can do school. Now you're giving me the extra help, Mr. Avent. You guys are giving me tutors. By the time they get done, they can read. You should see the number of parents that come in here crying about the change that has happened in their sons, not just in the fact that they can read, but the young man that he has become, how much more respectful he is, how much more confident that he is. Some of these boys, sometimes they come in here nonverbal because they have been, you know, shunned or made to feel dumb or whatever at the schools that they were at. Now they come here and they develop confidence, they develop friendship and brotherhood, and something begins to change in these boys, and their parents see it all the time. They wear their shirt and tie. And you know what happens with a boy when him and his friend are sitting on the bus and a lady says, well, don't you two look nice today? Where are you going, right? What does that do to that little boy's psyche?
Right.
You know, when somebody is saying, don't you look nice? Don't you look handsome? You know, boys are used to people being scared of them. And now they're telling them, don't you look nice? Boy, don't you look sharp? It begins to change the way a boy sees himself. So it's the combination of all these things. If you came to our morning meeting and saw how these young men lead the meeting, fourth graders get up in front of 300 boys and they lead the meeting, right? Those are the things that we're doing to change their mindset. So that was the first thing. It was the academic challenge they brought to us. Then the next thing they said that why they're considering closing us is because of finances, right? And saying that you guys don't have enough assets, you don't have enough cash on hand at the end of your fiscal year. You'll only have 14 days of cash on hand. You need to have 60 days of cash on hand, things like that. It's a challenge. We got to constantly, I will be straight up. We have to constantly be raising money, right? And this is what is another tragedy, right? This is a public school. Charter schools are public schools. And I want to make sure that your audience understands we're not a private for-profit company. You know, we are not a for-profit company. We're a nonprofit organization. We don't have a whole lot of overhead, right? So we're very lean. But what has happened in Baltimore City, particularly as opposed to other counties, originally when you had a charter school, the school districts could take a 2% overhead charge out of your per pupil allocation, right? And so that meant the charter school would get 98% of the money to operate their schools. And so that would help us pay for our rent on our buildings, our curriculum, these tutors I tell you about, staff, things like that. But after the pandemic, after the COVID money ran out, Baltimore City decided they were going to take 25% as opposed to 2%. And they've done that now for 3 years in a row. In fact, my school and several other charter schools have gotten together and gotten a lawyer to challenge them to get our money. And they're holding back, saying, no, you guys got to pay your fair share. And so we've taken it to the Maryland State Board of Education. Once again, in Anne Arundel County, in Carroll County, and other counties that have charter schools, they're only taking 2%. In Baltimore, they're taking 25%. And so now for our school, like, for example, this just past year, that's cost me $800,000 that they've withheld, like they're holding on to that. So I have to raise like that much money from the private sector, from foundations, from individuals donating money to our school. Now that just doesn't seem right, because regular traditional schools don't have to raise that kind of money to operate their school to educate public school children. And once again, our children are public school children. We get per pupil allocation, but they don't have to pay for their own building. We have incredible overhead with paying for our building, paying for the cleaning service and everything like that. Traditional schools aren't paying for that. They have that money like kind of central, but they're able to use their money to educate their kids, and it's different for us. So we have all of that overhead. And so one of the challenges is that, it's hard to dispute, like we do have to raise a lot of money. And it's almost like we need to build an endowment fund so that we have enough on hand that we can just live off the interest to pay our difference. So that is a major challenge for us that we have to overcome. I'm committed to doing it. I'm committed to, fighting to do that. But it is a challenge. It becomes challenging when the district says, I don't know, I think we want to not renew you. When that gets into the public, then people, say, maybe I can't enroll my son, because we really get our money based on the enrollment, right? How many boys we get paid. If they tell you that we may not, we may, because they're just recommending, they haven't voted on it, but the community hears they're closing that school, right? And so then they don't register. And then also when I go to the foundations or the philanthropic community, they're saying, I don't know, isn't your school closing? So then that makes it harder to raise money from them too.
Yeah,
so
it's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle, man. It's a vicious cycle. So I think that if we could overcome the money thing, I think that we could really argue hard on the academic thing, saying that I think that, our long-term outcomes are better than yours, and our current boys aren't doing any worse than yours. Why don't we, come to this middle road where you guys examine what we're doing to get our boys to be successful and help us, So that's what we're really, when we say, what do we want the community to do? You've been seeing information that comes across the bottom. We're asking people to go to our website, baltimorecollegiate.com/renewal. And on that site, we have all kinds of ways. You can sign our petition. You can send emails to the Board of Commissioners saying, keep this school open. If you don't know what to say, we have templates of letters that you can use. We have social media things that you can take, assets that you can put on your website or your social media to help promote us. But we're just asking the community, let's fight. Let's fight to save our boys. A lot of times people are saying, we drive up to the light and we see these young brothers want to clean our window, right? And we look at them like, nah, that's okay. But you're thinking in your heart, like, what can I do to help that boy? I don't want our young brothers out on the corner. Well, one of the ways, if you give them $1, what's that going to really do? If you donate to us, then we can educate them. The more a boy is educated, the more a boy graduates from high school, the more he goes on to get higher education, the less likely he's going to be on the corner being a squeegee boy. The less likely he's going to join a gang to, have to sell drugs to make it. He's going to pursue something more. And so you see, this is our website. And once again, we have this tab across the top that says renewal. So if you could click on that renewal tab, you would see this whole site that has all this information for people to be able to join the fight. So you'll see renewal 2025. If you scroll down, you'll be able to see that we have different ways right there. Like you could email the commissioner. You just push a button, it would send an email out to all the commissioners with a pre-written letter. You can edit that letter to make it your voice and then send it out to them. We have a petition, number 2, where you can go to our petition and sign. We have over 1,200 signatures on our petition. You can share your story. You can actually record a video of yourself saying, hey, you know, Board of Commissioner members, I'm Kevin Peck, and I believe in what Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys is doing, and it'll send it to them. If you scroll down a little bit more, we have other assets that people can use to help send our message. And last but not least, we ask people to donate to the cause so that they can help us. As you scroll through our site, you can hear what you can see what the parents say about our school. We tell you why the renewal matters, and give you all kind of assets that you can share with your community. And what we're asking is all of Baltimore who wants to help us, or not just Baltimore, they could be in London, they could be in Mexico, and they can help us. They can just go on and send a letter saying why they think we should be supported. We have a hearing that's coming up on January the 8th at the Board of Education, where we're going to testify. We're asking people to testify and tell them why they think we should be there. They vote on January 14th. So we put together a whole strategy for people to dive in and help us. It's pretty turnkey for them to help. But if you believe in Black boys, if you believe that we got to take our own fate into our own hands when it comes to the education of our brothers, and we want better outcomes than 60%, then we ask you to join us in this fight so that we can continue to do the work that we do, and then hopefully expand so that we can replicate this not just in Baltimore, but let's do it in Hampton Roads. Let's do it in Richmond, Virginia. Let's do it in Wilmington, Delaware. You know, I'd like to build these schools around the HBCUs because, Kevin, I don't know if you know, but your male enrollment at Morgan is down to 37% of the student population, right? And so that's happening all over the place. Coppin's male student population is 25%. I hear that Howard University's male enrollment is 25%. We got to reverse that. And so I'd love to build these schools, these collegiate school for boys near these HBCUs, build our young men up and funnel them back into the HBCUs, you know, and it would be wonderful if we could do this all across the country.
What's the number you need a year to run it?
Well, it depends on your enrollment. Yeah, it depends. Like an ideal enrollment, like our cap is 480. We can go up to 480 students. Right now, we're at 315. So trying to drive those numbers up could help us out a tremendous amount. If we're at 480, we don't have to raise as much from the private sector. But if it's lower than that, we have to raise more. So it's kind of a sliding scale. Depends on also your overhead. Some organizations have a building donated to them, or their rent is $1 a year. That's not the case with us.
Not yet,
but we're working on it.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to you sort of break it down, because this all sounds very familiar to me, as my wife used to be a principal of a charter school in Baltimore. So,
oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. So all this, I'm like, oh, the 20%. Yeah, I remember that. It's like, these are like very dinner table conversations. So I appreciate your fight in this, because I know it's not easy. And I think people don't realize, like, yes, charter schools are often seen as like, oh, it's so easy and anyone can do it. It's like, yeah, no, there are a lot of rules when it is handled properly that kind of slightly put you at not even in this case, a disadvantage, right? Especially coming off of that boom of COVID funds, which were definitely necessary for everyone. And then suddenly it going away, or those percentages going much higher. I do want to point out this point that you were talking about, which is when it comes to academics, how, you know, you guys are getting students from other Baltimore City schools, and it's like, oh, well, you guys aren't meeting these, you know, whatever these particular test scores are. And I think it's important to mention that this is a big difference between equality and equity, right? A lot of people go, oh, well, just give everybody, you know, just arbitrarily, let's say like $5,000, and that should fix everything. Everybody gets the equal amount, but everybody doesn't start in the same position, right? So like you said, you're starting your school when it first opened with the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. But if you have students who aren't able to read coming in, they're not starting at the same position necessarily as every 4th, 5th, and 6th grader across Baltimore City or across the state of Maryland. So the idea of looking at these schools, whether they're charters or public schools and what have you, or even us as outsiders have to look at the sort of the equity of this. You know, they often talk about, especially with Baltimore City schools in general, oh, there's so much money pumped into these schools, but they're not doing as well as these other states and stuff like that. It's like the deficits are so much lower than where these kids are starting, and in poverty and things like that, and in these particular neighborhoods. I used to actually live in the neighborhood where your school is, so I know exactly where it is. The old Coke plant.
Yep. The old Coca-Cola building.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to live right around the corner on 33rd. So like I understand that neighborhood very, very specifically. Like, yeah, you're not walking out your front door and it's like, like a musical, right? Like it's a rough neighborhood, and a lot of these kids are coming. It's just not, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of these kids are coming from situations that are really dire, right? So this idea that you can just give this sort of blanket amount of money or blanket amount of attention is not true. And in understanding that the deficits that these kids are coming from is important. So the fact that you guys are recognizing that and then started adding in the lower grades, because adding in the higher grades, you're still dealing with the same problem coming up, and it's actually getting worse, right? So I appreciate you guys recognizing that. I think that's really important.
I wish we could go, because we keep trying to get renewed so we can ask, can we go to kindergarten, and they keep challenging us and like saying, no, we're going to recommend. So if you recommend us not to be renewed and then we get renewed, then they're like, well, you're on probation kind of thing. They're like, we're renewing you with conditions. But I can't say, but can we go down to kindergarten, please?
Right.
They're like, no, you got to prove us that you can do this. So you're caught. It's like you're caught in the middle.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. It's like, I got to show you that we can do well with these guys. But what we're trying to say is, we need to go down to kindergarten so we can be the ones that educate them in our structure, in our system, so that when they hit 4th grade, they have been taught by us, not by your schools, because what we're getting from your schools, we're having to fix.
Yeah, that's a very real problem. So yeah,
who's mad on the school board? I want to know. Like who is?
I don't know that.
I'm trying to figure out, because I don't care who you are. If you're African American and you listen, if you're not African American and you listening to this chicken box today, and you can't see that somebody's pouring into our Black young kings, our future leaders, and you measuring on a metric that doesn't even apply to them, because they haven't even started out in the right structure to get there, but they're moving constantly up. Somebody's mad. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, Kevin,
I don't even know why. And if they Black, I really don't know why, because they might as well shut down all those other public schools if they're on the same level, right?
Yeah.
And we'll shut all the schools down if you're gonna go by a metric. You need to change all of the metrics, or you bring your whole strategic team in and let them spend time. Let them shadow in every classroom and see how these young men come in. We should just do a documentary, y'all.
I'm trying to.
As a matter of fact, I like how you said about the HBCUs. We need to leave them alone. I can't stand when it's just somebody who gets on their high horse. Now I'm on the chicken box, y'all. This is what the chicken box is all about. Fired my blood up, y'all. I can't stand when somebody, they messing with our kids. All three of us, we came from.
Right.
We know. Matter of fact, I still have a rental property on Robb Street, which is right around the corner. You know what I'm saying? So we know what the obstacles are that you just have to fight being a kid in Baltimore City, let alone deal with a hierarchy of people who say you're not improving. But that, just by them having them ties on, I don't know if y'all saw the website. Go back, just how polished those young men look like superstars on those pictures.
Yeah, man. And they feel differently. They feel differently, man.
I saw your post when y'all was shaking all those young men's hand as they were coming to school. Everybody looked like they were like ready, like we going in to learn today. Not we going in to fool around, fight, act a fool. You know what I mean? Sell drugs, bring some weapons, and none of that. They looking like.
As soon as they walk in the door, man, we take their phones. Like, so they don't have their phones all day. We put them in phone lockers. So
Man, that's what they need to be.
yeah,
That's what they
we
need to
take
be.
all the distractions away, and they don't fight. They don't fight it. They know it's time to learn. You
Man,
know.
if I didn't know, I blinked and looked at that picture and blinked and looked at Morehouse. They look just like Morehouse men when they first come into to Morehouse, ready to dominate this new education system. Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm,
man.
I'm gonna get upset. If you just tuned into the Chicken Box Show, this is Dr. Edwin Avent, Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys, primarily African American boys. I guess any boy could come.
Any boy can come.
Any
Any boy
boy
can
can
come. It
come.
just so happens that
Just happens that 90-something% of them
yeah,
are African Americans, and they are our future, and they are so powerful that they would like to do away with it. And whoever is up there, I don't know who's voting.
I don't know, Kev. Look,
But
bro, it's like this. It's like this invisible hand that's moving behind the
yeah, I
scenes.
mean, but who even makes a suggestion? Oh, we need to close the school down for all. But like, come on, man! It is so many places that you can go when they done shut down all these recs, and we're gonna have to call Mayor Scott, Governor Westmore. You're gonna have to get involved. You know what I mean? Or whoever out there, we might have a billionaire out there who says, "Look, let's make it a private school, start an endowment, and then you don't got to fool with all this foolishness."
Yeah. Hey, Mackenzie Scott, if you're listening,
Right?
There you go.
Michael Bloomberg, if you're listening,
All the Baltimore Ravens. You know what? We don't really need them. Actually, if you know your number, all of us, all men who have come or women who come from Baltimore, we give to everything else.
Yeah, we can. And you know, and that's what we're working on, like kicking off this campaign that, you know, tries to get all of us. And that's the thing, like, because this is the Afro, so I'm gonna keep it real. All right.
Please
Where
do.
we get our biggest dollars definitely are not from our community. When I get a $50,000 check, a $25,000 check, it's not from my community. And put it to you like that. When I go out to appeal to the people who I would think get our back, crickets. You know, and so
yeah, but if you fall down on Instagram or something, they're gonna like it. They're gonna be over that. They're gonna be over that like it's a new day in Christmas.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I'm sure they're like jumping to conclusions like, oh, they said Edwin's school is bad. Like, so as opposed to like calling me or coming seeing it themselves, you know, I'm even trying to get them board of commissioner members, like saying, please come visit us. I want you to come visit
Well, have
us
they been to
you
visit?
vote. Only
Have
a
they
few. Only a few.
How many of them is it?
Is 11.
Let's put their faces on the front page of the Afro. See what y'all doing. Let's see what they up to.
I'd like for them to come visit. You know, I'm not trying to antagonize any of them. I understand that everybody's doing their job and they believe that they're doing what's in the best interest of Baltimore City children. That's what they believe, and they're using a rubric that I think is skewed. But their rubric, it says, if you don't meet this, then you're not effective. If you don't meet this, you're not effective. And what I'm trying to say to them is that everything is not on the rubric. You know, everything that impacts the trajectory of children, and particularly of these boys, is not in a rubric. You're not going to capture it like that. You got to get into it's a qualitative thing. Come sit down.
What about the millionaires and billionaires that barely finished high school? What rubric is that?
Exactly.
What about all of them with people who have more degrees than a thermometer and they can't find a job and they still looking for a job? Come on, the rubric is it needs to be broken.
It needs to be. If you found
I got
something
a
that's
cup.
working,
I'm over here in London. I'm like, I'm about to break this cup. When you said, I said this rubric needs to be broken. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just passionate. I'm not passionate about if you don't have a boy, if you have a boy or you have a son, or if you get a chance to impact young black men, you will be passionate too. So whatever it is, go in there, renew. I don't know how our voice makes a difference to these 11 when they get in the room. But they need to come on. It's about to be the holiday, right? When they gonna come check out the school?
I don't know, man. I mean, because after the holiday, we don't have much time before they vote, and so you know, I'm trying to invite them. Come and see. You know, we'd love for you to come and visit us. You know, we want you to come in here and see what we're doing. Talk to us. Just sit down and talk to us. You know, about what we need. Like, to me, I have the data. Like, if you want a question, when I'm telling you these graduation dates, what I've purposely done is I've taken the boys that went to private school out. I've taken the boys who moved to the county or moved out of state and just focused on the boys who stayed in Baltimore City schools. So they left here and they went to Dunbar, they went to Poly, they went to Forest Park, they went to Baltimore City schools, not even county. I don't count, just there, because I know from that perspective, they can go in their computer and check me. They can fact check me, right? Like, and that's why I'm focusing on the boys that stayed in your school. If you fact check me, you will find that I did not make up the graduation rates. They actually are graduating from your schools at these percentages. Okay. So for me, you need to look at that and say, how are they doing that? You know, because it's a coincidence. Is it a coincidence or is it correlation? Because it's our boys are doing it and they're doing it at different schools. So we're asking them to look at that before you vote to close this. Come and look at that and then ask the question, like, if we, and here's the other thing, we track all of our boys through high school. So I've told you about the 4 classes that have graduated. There's 4 classes that are now in high school. In the 12th grade, over 90% of our boys are still in school. The 11th grade is like 94%. In the 10th grade is 98%. And in the 9th grade is 100%. So our boys are still in high school, over 90%. So we're projecting that those boys too will be graduating at a 90% rate. So there's something, why are our boys staying in school and not dropping out compared to yours that are dropping out at, you know, if only 60% are graduating, then 40% aren't.
Right. Again,
Okay.
It is the argument of equity versus equality, right? Like, you guys are providing an equitable difference to these boys' lives as they're coming into your school, and that is resonating with them as they go out into these high schools. Now, you guys have been around for, you said 11 or 12 years?
This is our 11th year.
This is your 11th year.
Yes.
Do you have any sense of how many of your students, your former students, have graduated college? I'd be interested.
Well, they're just seniors now. The first
okay,
class,
right, because they were
first class are seniors now.
Got it.
And right now we're averaging about a 46% rate of the boys who graduate from high school being in a 2 or 4 year college.
Okay.
About 46% of them are in 2 or 4 years, but then others are in trade schools, and you know, a few have gone to the military, and so but we're tracking. We want that number to be higher. You know, it may actually be higher. Some boys, they aren't communicating. It's hard. I have a director of alumni affairs, and he's trying to track all these boys constantly to stay on top of where they are. But from the responses that we're getting right now, we know we're around 46% of them are in college. We got them at Morehouse. We got several at Morgan. I think we got about 15 boys at Morgan now. At Morehouse, we have 2, and Coppin, we have about 12. So UMES has about 13 of them. So a lot of them stay in state, but we got boys. Derek Queen, if you like basketball, Derek Queen, who went to the University of Maryland, then got drafted. He's one of my alumni. So he's playing for the New Orleans Pelicans. He may be the rookie of the year, but he graduated from here. When he was here, we went 70-0, and we won 3 middle school championships.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but we got boys that are just doing it, man. They're all over the country. We got a boy that's getting ready to go in the NFL draft. He's at Ole Miss right now. He'll be going in this next draft. So we just got guys that are doing I mean, some of the stories, when you hear some of the stories of some of these young brothers, this grandfather came on, I was on a podcast, or it was like a webinar thing, and this man came on and said, he told me that he took his grandson and granddaughter from his daughter and her husband because they were abusing the kids. They weren't taking care of the kids. So he took them at 5 and 3 years old. And he said the boy was nonverbal. He didn't do well in school. He wasn't reading. He wasn't doing anything. He brought him to us in the 4th grade. And they said between the 4th grade and 8th grade, he became a whole new person. And she said today he's a sophomore engineering major at Morgan State University. The grandmother, they got on, literally they crying. They like, it was his time at Baltimore Collegiate that changed his life. He began talking. He hugs me. She said he hugs me and kisses me. He said, but when he was a little boy, he didn't want to be touched. He was nonverbal. you know. And so just the life-changing things that are happening with boys that come through our school, and the experience that they've gone through is just nothing short of amazing.
Well, I thank you for that. That's amazing. That's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
the time is getting near, guys.
Go for it.
But the subject we're talking about is even getting closer to decision day.
Yeah.
Well, we're just gonna put some prayers up that these people would have a change of heart, or they come take a look, and
Yeah.
and if not, talk to some of these grandparents in the community, some of these parents. Matter of fact, come talk to some of the students.
Yeah. Better yet.
And the former students. If you just tuned in, this has been a conversation about the hope of leadership, with and the vision, which has already been cast. If you missed it, go back and watch it, about the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys, making an impact. Don't worry about these scores. Let's get to the impact. What kind of impact are you making in a human being's life, especially a Black young man? That's what needs to be measured. Right now, I'm on the chicken box, y'all. So I'm on the box. Jay, you go next. I'll save you, Edwin. You know, I appreciate you for all you have done. You've always been a leader in the community, Edwin. From all of the different ventures, you know, you've been a serial entrepreneur, and now you're at the point in your life that you really, not that you didn't pour into to kids before, but that your full-time mission is to really change the narrative, not only here but around the world. And sometimes you got to go outside of Baltimore to come back to Baltimore,
Right.
if it must be, because the mission still has to be accomplished. You know what I mean? 11 people in some silo living on a rubric can't determine what your destiny is, especially if God gave you the vision and He's with you on this mission. So I just say, everybody, go to the renewal tab and show your support for this institution. Check them out. See what they're really about. Get out of your Mercedes and your Porsches and your houses in the in the hills, and come check on the brothers in the inner city and see the difference that it makes. Because at the end of the day, all of us, all three of us, came from those same streets of Baltimore.
Well, you know, actually, I came from the streets of Philadelphia, but it was the same similar neighborhood than
Oh,
this.
yeah.
All right. You ruined the whole thing. You ruined
I
the
know.
whole thing.
Ruin the whole thing, Philly.
The
Streets are crazy.
The story is the same. Like I said,
So we were close.
my mother was a 35-year school teacher in Philadelphia. And so people ask me, like, where do I get this passion from? And I think it probably came from watching my mother have impact on the lives of so many. And she definitely had an impact on me. She inspired me educationally. And so, but it's similar, man. I'm telling you, what we're dealing with in Baltimore is what they're dealing with in Philadelphia, and they're dealing with in Wilmington, and they're dealing with in Norfolk, in Chicago. Everywhere, man. This is a problem everywhere. But we all are Black men who.
Well, if Montessori is everywhere, the Collegiate School for Boys can be everywhere. I'm gonna put that out there for free.
Absolutely.
I'm off the box. Jay Jackson.
Okay, so again, Mr. Avent, we appreciate your time. Look, it was a great conversation. It really was. I can't recommend enough for people to understand those kind of like statistics about how few Black men are teachers. And so when boys do not see people who look like them, and that is a powerful, powerful thing, to just see people who look like them every day in positions of leadership and guidance, it makes a difference. And the fact that you guys are not only doing that, but many other things to sort of put what I would say, better standards, better guidance, whether that's wearing a tie or not, but it's about what you're focused on, which is doing better and not sort of, allowing anything to go as far as education, as far as their discipline and things like that, I think are really great. I hope that the board sides with, being reasonable and understanding that, you guys are starting with students who are at a large deficit. ironically, because of the system that they're a part of, which whatever. that's a whole different conversation, I'm sure. Not to cast dispersions on anyone, but I hope that they can understand that what you guys are doing for those boys as they come to you is significant, and it's changing people's lives. Hopefully they get to hear some testimonies from some of the parents that you mentioned, and perhaps some of the boys too, before they sort of make their final judgment. I hope, if that is possible. But I think you're doing good work. I can tell you, just as a person sitting on the sidelines and hearing about the education system and how it works in Baltimore very specifically for years now, this is not an easy job. Wherever you are, whether you're on the board, whether you're running a charter school, running a public school, wherever you are in this, educating students is not an easy position, especially in Baltimore City with the city's general deficits. So anybody who is working to make that system better, especially for young Black boys who are often very much lost and sort of fall through the cracks in that system, I think should be commended. So however you get there is how you get there. And I think the way you guys are getting there is the right way to get there. So thank you for your time and your effort. I really do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you guys.
You are now on the box, baby. You're officially on the box.
I'm on the box. Well, I just want to thank you all for having us today and for having our back. First of all, giving us a ear to hear about what's going on and a platform to share it with your audience. For a lot of us, we grew up kind of like on the heels of the civil rights movement. We came up, in the 70s, early 80s, and whatever. And my inspirations were Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey and, Medgar Evers. These guys motivated me. At the same time, John Johnson, Earl Graves from the business side motivated me. So I have this activist business guy thing working together that drives me to want to make sure that Black people win, and particularly Black men. And if Black men win, then the entire community wins. Because if they win, they can be fathers, they could be husbands, they could be homeowners, they pay taxes, they contribute to society, and they give back. And that strengthens our entire community. And then that strengthens the entire country. So I'm here to fight for them to the end. And I'm just asking everybody else who feels the same way about that, we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to be about it. Let's go do the work. And we have a mechanism in Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys that's actually doing the work. So if you want to help us, you can give. Go to our website, baltimorecollegiate.com/renewal. And there, sign the petition, send a letter, make a donation, and just whatever you can do to cheer us on and to get other people to help us, please do. If you know a commissioner, call them. If you know the mayor, hit them up. If you know the governor, hit them up. But if you know a big donor who can make a donation to us, hit them up. No matter what you do, all of it will go towards these young men and changing their trajectory. And so I just want to say thank you to all. I want to wish everybody a happy holidays. And, I look forward to coming back and joining you guys on the box, and hopefully with some great news in the future.
Hey,
awesome.
11 people not going to be able to shut the dream down, baby. Come on. Yeah. They didn't even have the internet and everything else when our forefathers, the men that you said were your mentors and made a difference. So it's going to be what it's going to be. But guess what? You're going to still impact the boys. I'm going to still. Jay's going to still. We got you back here at the Afro. So
we appreciate you all. And we're praying. We're all praying men. And so we prayed about it.
Yeah, but we pray. But you got to open up your mouth too. You can't just pray in the closet. You got to open up your mouth and do something too after you.
Faith without works.
They prayed, and then they went to battle. They blew that horn, and they said, "Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, enough is enough."
Faith without works is dead.
Right? Dead, absolutely. Look, happy holidays, everybody. It's not the final episode, but anyway, you said happy holidays. So, and remember, go call a senior. They really want to hear from you, especially during this time. And it seems like you always lose loved ones around holidays. I don't know what that is about, God, but it's and then so it's a lot of people who are sad around these times, and they just need just a little word. Don't text them, call them up and say, "Hey, auntie, grandma, ma, whoever it is that you haven't spoke to in a while, and tell them you love them." Till next time, this has been the Chicken Box. Dr. Draper couldn't join us today. It's her birthday. Happy birthday, Dr. Draper.
Happy birthday, Dr. Draper.
Happy birthday. Matter of fact, for those of you who know, she was a school teacher as well at Edwin. Little known fact. Anyway.
Okay, so we both come from the same upbringing.
There you go. There you
That's what's
go.
up.
Hey, have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Jay. I'm coming to Mexico, bro. I'm coming. Talk to
Hey,
you
man,
later.
it's warm down here.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.